Picture a perfectly normal day at the beach. You have the sound of waves crashing, a gentle breeze, and three cousins, Raika, Neil, and Kiara, working together to build a sandcastle. Neil shapes the main structure, Kiara builds the towers, and Raika digs out the moat. Then the environment drops its friendly facade. The air turns thick and suffocatingly hot. The humidity spikes so violently that the kids start sweating profusely, so much so that Neil's sweat actually starts ruining the sand he's trying to sculpt. Along with the heat, there's an immediate chilling absence. The once crowded beach is completely empty. The lively background noise of other families and tourists is simply gone. The author is using sudden sensory deprivation and extreme isolation to yank both the characters and us, the readers, out of a comfortable reality. We are disoriented on purpose. But the kids don't panic immediately. They react with the naive optimism only children have. Kiara wipes her face and suggests they snap some quick photos to finish their school project for World Earth Day so they can go home. This jarring transition strips away the protagonist's safety net. It establishes how fragile our baseline of normalcy really is, leaving them totally vulnerable before the actual nightmare of their situation is revealed. As the cousins pack up and head for home, the scale of the environmental collapse becomes obvious. The beach sand has turned black, the ocean water is a thick, muddy sludge, and small, dark clouds hover in the sky, making their throats itch with every breath. Approaching the road, they run into a massive, exhausted crowd of people clutching buckets and glasses. They quickly learn the grim rules of this reality. Water is strictly rationed to 2 hours in the morning and 2 in the evening. Electricity flows for just 4 hours a day. They meet a woman in line who confirms their situation. The year is 2222. She asks them to hold her spot in the queue so she can go forage for wild vegetables and collect cow dung for cooking fuel. Modern conveniences like gas cylinders are completely unheard of here. Because fossil fuels were entirely depleted by previous generations, society has been forced backward. There are no cars, scooters, or buses, only slow, creaking bullock carts trundling down the road. And those massive city buildings stretching into the sky, they sit completely empty. The air at street level became so toxic that millions perished, forcing the surviving population to abandon urban centers entirely and migrate to the mountains. The year 2222 operates as a literal consequence simulator. It takes all the abstract, easy-to-ignore warnings about environmental pollution and translates them into a terrifying physical reality for the kids to witness firsthand. The woman in line breaks down exactly how the planet got this way. It started with previous generations indiscriminately cutting down forests to construct massive buildings. That aggressive logging left zero firewood for future generations and triggered severe soil erosion. This flowchart maps the chain reaction. Logging and fossil fuel overuse at the top branch out directly into soil erosion, resource scarcity, and a toxic atmosphere. Following that toxic atmosphere node, the pollution levels rendered urban zones unlivable, isolating humanity into small mountain pockets. There is a bitter irony baked into this history. The ancestors destroyed the natural world, specifically to build those indestructible concrete towers that now sit empty because the air outside them is too lethal to breathe. Hearing this, the reality of the situation hits Neil. He looks around at the suffering people and realizes aloud that his own generation and the ones immediately following are the ones who made this future a complete misery. The narrative reaches its true emotional peak in this moment. Beyond the physical landscape of 2022, the children are forced to confront a crushing sense of generational guilt, the realization that they are the very ancestors who created this misery. Before the despair can fully set in, the dark vision of 2022 begins to fade, and the crowd disappears. The cousins find themselves back in their own time, walking toward their house, their perspective permanently shifted by what they endured. Kiara immediately starts drafting a real plan for their Earth Day project. She lays out concrete rules. Every person needs to plant at least 3 trees in their lifetime. Every house must use solar cooking utensils and install a rainwater harvesting system. These resolutions target the exact systemic failures the cousins just witnessed. Rainwater harvesting provides a direct preventative measure against future water rationing, while solar cookers remove the desperate reliance on firewood. We see this exact awakening happening outside the pages of the story. Across the globe, real youth movements are stepping up, taking the microphone at global summits and demanding strict climate action and accountability from the older generations who built the current system. This narrative serves as an empathy-building exercise. It aligns directly with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 13, which pushes for urgent climate action. It forces us to look at the dry data and feel the human cost of ignoring it. The nightmare of 2022 is, thankfully, still just a scary scenario on paper, but the clock is ticking. What specific, actionable choices will you make today to ensure the real story of our planet gets a better ending?